Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's talk about AI. Why not? We got a mail here. It says, "Hi, Perch P. Perchington Esquire. You know what? I've never been entirely clear what would compel somebody to use Esquire on their name. It just feels like you might as well just go douche. Like it's me, Perch P. Douche. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, is anybody actually running around using Esquire in their name and not jokingly. Anyway, it's a funny bit for me, but I'm just saying in real life, like who's doing that? Anyway, all right, let's get to this. It says, "Sigh." Okay, we're off to a good start. Sigh, sorry, I'm just not in the mood for further jokes right now. Yikes. Earlier, I was on one of those less savory sites on the internet, so porn. Um, and when I saw something that honestly made me think comics were over. I'm not going to link to it. Oh, come on. Because I don't want this to end up in your spam filter, and I hope you'll take precautions on your end if you do intend to view it. I'm absolutely going to view it. The AI monstrosity that makes me wonder about the future comics industry is called, Queen Potato Fae Breeder Comics ongoing AI generated. What? What? Well, I am going to go look at that, but that does sound horrifying. Just Google it. I'm sure you'll find it. I'm not telling you should make a video about this. Well, at this point, I have to, right? But I think you might want to let your friends in the industry know about this, okay? This is far from being worth money, but it's really good for something generated by AI. So good, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised by this time next year, this became a significant portion of the industry. Yours, a long-term viewer. P.S. If you think I'm exaggerating and that it's nowhere near there yet, here's hoping you're right. Okay. So I'm just going to pause this video for a second. We're going to go check this thing out. I'm going to pull over. I'm going to give this thing a good look, and then I'll be right back.
A few minutes later.
Okay, well, that was some elf porn, was what that was. So anyway, you could go take a look for yourself. I'm sure if I gave it a deeper look, no pun intended, I might understand what the Queen Potato. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but anyway, cool. So I don't know. It looked like the elf ladies were were either having babies or practicing a lot. So that looked like what was going on there. But there you have it. And there's a lot of this right now. I think where you're seeing AI really get used for comics is for dirty porn is basically where it's going. And the problem is this. So if I, forgetting the jokes about elf breeders, I don't think we're at risk of seeing AI take over mainstream comics anytime soon. And there's a few reasons to this, but one of them is this. And by the way, people write me and go, "I don't know, Perch, have you seen this? The AI is getting really good." It is. The AI illustrations are getting very solid. I think there is, the quality is getting better and better, no doubt about it. However, the art lacks distinction is, I guess, the best way to put it. It's like if every single comic that was out there looked like Mark Bagley. And Mark Bagley has a distinctive style, so this is not a knock against him, but if every single comic looked exactly the same, that's a little bit about what this would, that's kind of what AI is giving us. It's giving us, and even if you pick a different style, it's got a kind of glossy fakeness to it. That's the problem with a lot of the AI art. And so you're going to have AI, develop a distinctive style, and then it's going to have to keep that style throughout the entire comic, and then that style is going to need to evolve. The thing about comics that I think people appreciate, but they don't always realize they're appreciating it, is like if you look at Todd McFarlane when he first started, and then you look at him years later on Spider-Man, then you looked at him years later with Spawn, you'll notice his style evolving. You'll see the same thing out of Jim Lee. That style continues to kind of shape and form and mature. You see the same thing out of any artist. You see that kind of style evolve, and it improves and it changes, and there's something distinctive about it. AI can mimic that, but it will be hard for it to. AI as computer logic just sits with a style, and that style looks fake. A long time ago, I remember I was playing around with a program called Poser, and it was a 3D. You know, you could create 3D characters, and people started using it for comics. But the problem is, it looked like Poser. It didn't look like actual art. It looked, and it didn't. It was like a person who knew how to make 3D art, trying to do storytelling. And if you look at comic artists, and so take an exaggerated version like Humberto Ramos, and you look at how he lays out a comic, and you look at how he exaggerates certain positions and poses, and kind of plays with the page to create a distinctive piece. If you look at that, or you take a look at Kari Andrews and how his style has evolved, right? He's changed as well. But the panels, it takes advantage of kind of the story and the moment to do something bigger. And AI is going to have to do that, but in a lot of cases, that's like a human judgment call. It is certainly possible for somebody to try and, make AI the entire comic panel by panel. I'm sure some people will try, but you've got to marry that up with good storytelling technique, and that's a lot harder for a computer to replicate. So this isn't me saying like AI is never going to be popular and it's never going to go anywhere or anything else, because I think things will change and evolve and improve, but I don't think it's the imminent threat that a lot of people do. And when I tell this to people in the comic industry, by the way, various creators will reach out and we'll chat about AI, and I'll say the same thing. Like, I don't think it's the big threat yet, and people will go. They always have the same reaction. Well, I hope not. And I would point to this example. We've got at this point really good, CG that you could do. Pixar's been doing animated movies and everything else. You've seen through kind of some of the stuff with Star Wars, they can now, do kind of 3D, generated versions of classic characters. But nobody's doing a full movie off that, or thinking about that, or trying. I'm sure some people are thinking about it. But it's one of those things where you need the distinction of the actor and the flaws in order to have a compelling movie. People aren't willing to just watch, kind of 3D generated stuff that is kind of auto-generated by a computer. You need this all put together. You might say, hey, this sounds horribly naive, and as somebody who kind of bills himself as a tech, futurist and other things, and who thinks about this stuff, you're being ridiculous. The technology will definitely get there. Yeah, maybe. But we've had some of these pieces of technology for a very long time. AI is relatively new, but the idea of like I said, with Poser and some of this other stuff, you don't see that, mass taking over comics. And so, and the tech was there. I mean, for people who are good at using that Poser product, I mean, that was like 1995, I think, was when this application was available. I mean, you're talking 30 years, and there were people who got good at it, but you never saw a comic made out of that. Well, why? Because it was just too difficult to actually have a creative, compelling story using technology that way. It just didn't map or work. And so, I mean, unfortunately, look, I think you're stuck with hand-drawn stuff, but I'll give you another reason. And again, these are, I'm being pragmatic here. If there's not enough money in things, you're not going to see huge AI innovation aimed at it. So while you may see some people trying to use AI, you're not going to see kind of really big effort put behind this when there's just frankly not enough, money in the pie to make it worth anybody's while to do that. So, the more likely thing you're going to see, and I truly believe this, is you will see AI advance with, you take a photo and it can use AI to kind of get rid of all the things around it, or, it can take, images of you when you were younger, and it can, recreate those. So you could have like, hey, here's me, and, what if, I went to Paris, and what would that look like with me there? You're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff. People doing kind of AI generated memories, or AI generated enhanced part of their life. You're going to see that stuff kind of roll out because there's a consumer need for it. Because Apple could put out a phone. It's like, hey, if you buy this, we've got image manipulation that you can take some of those photos when you were at Disney World, and using AI, we'll get rid of all the other people. So it looks like you're just there enjoying it with you and your girl, and you're having a great time. Or hey, here's this picture of you at the beach, and we can use AI to take 20 pounds off of you and make the water look more blue and clear, so it looks like a picture perfect moment. You're going to see lots of that because people will jump at buying that. But the idea that you're going to see AI completely take over creative mediums like this, it just doesn't. History has shown us that that's a little unlikely that that's going to come. Will people try? Sure. But the results like that, porno, fairy breeding comic, yeah, there's tons of it. So it will find a niche for that. You're definitely going to find people who make kind of cheap porn using AI to get those pages done. So expect a huge plethora of various kind of dirty comics. Have you ever wanted to see the X-Men have an orgy, or what would incest look like in the DC universe? That's what AI is going to be used for. It's going to be used for that kind of stuff. Even though the comic companies are cheap as fuck, the idea that Marvel or DC are going to turn around and say, here's a comic made by AI. I could see somebody doing something like that as a stunt for an issue. One, it would get just roasted, but two, it just probably wouldn't be very good. So sleep well. I may be wrong. I predict a lot of other things getting displaced. I mean, if you're talking about like medical diagnosis, and you're talking about, architecture for building plans and stuff like that, AI is absolutely going to come and mess those jobs up for sure. But there's billions of dollars in that. Comics, unfortunately, there's not enough money to make it truly interesting. So we're probably just stuck with elf porn for a while. But hey, thanks for the link and the recommendation. And if you want to look at it for yourself, not that I'm suggesting, any of it, you can certainly do that. What was that thing again? Queen Potato, Faye, Breeder Comics. That's comics with an X to make it extra classy. And you can look this stuff up. And it looks nice. I mean, the images look, good, but it has a kind of soulless look to it, even when the woman is like grabbing her nipples. So, there you go. Thanks for listening.